Policy Committee to order. Members, welcome again. For the record, the quorum is present. And members, today we've got an overview of rural broadband. There's a lot for us to be updated on with federal dollars that have been passed and the state dollars that we passed last year for the program, as well as just many developments to be aware of as our committee looks for the best solutions for rural broadband and getting the unserved areas in our state more and more completed, with the goal of getting the state entirely built out with high-speed internet. And so there'll be a lot of good information. I think you'll find insightful some of the amounts of dollars that there is to spend and coordinate together as we can get this goal and job accomplished. I think there's a lot of things to be optimistic about, but there's also some things we need to wrestle with as how to best proceed, how to get this job done that we so many of us are sincere and passionate about. So members, just for a little roadmap, we are not going to take up the confirmation appointments today that we talked about Monday, but looking to next Monday probably for that. So stay tuned to your agenda. But today we're going to be getting an overview and lots of insights on broadband and the rural broadband program. And we're going to start with Angie, the director at the Office of Broadband here in Minnesota. And we're going to let you kick it off, Angie, and welcome to our committee, and tell us all the different aspects that have developed and where we're at from last year to this year, and what we need to know as a committee to help make best decisions going forward, and areas we should be aware of, and what's on the horizon for our constituents. So welcome, identify yourself for the record, and appreciate you making time to come to our committee.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members. My name is Angie Dickerson, and I am the Executive Director of the Minnesota Office of Broadband Development. My colleague Devin Bowdry is here with me today, and he will be handling the slides. Mr. Chair and members, thank you for dedicating this time to discuss the need for border-to-border broadband access in our state. During the extraordinary times of the pandemic, the need for high-speed internet access and digital equity for all Minnesotans has never been more apparent. We are fortunate in our state that thanks to private and public investment, many of our communities have access to reliable high-speed internet service. And we are grateful for the commitment of our state's broadband providers who work tirelessly to keep and get so many of us connected during the pandemic. At the same time, we are also acutely aware of the gaps in broadband coverage in our state and the importance of continuing our work to meet our state's broadband goals. And COVID-19 has certainly intensified our sense of urgency, as so many of us need connectivity for everything. Next slide, please. So where do we stand on our progress toward Minnesota's speed goals? As you can see, the need for broadband access still exists in our state. This map depicts broadband availability at the city and township level. The yellow areas are townships where less than 50% of the households have access to a 100 by 20 service. Minnesota has made progress toward its 2026 goal, with 89% of Minnesotans having access to broadband speeds of 100 by 20. However, in our rural areas, this measurement drops to 75%. Minnesota has approximately 240,000 households that lack wireline access to a 100 by 20 broadband service. The estimated cost to connect these locations exceeds $1.3 billion. And this estimate is likely low due to the following infrastructure challenges: supply chain issues, labor and fiber shortages, inflation and the rising costs of materials and labor, and potential permitting delays due to the large number of anticipated infrastructure projects on the horizon. Public-private partnerships are needed to ensure applications are submitted for broadband infrastructure to reach all of these locations. Next slide, please. As a reminder, during the 2021 legislative session, the legislature appropriated $70 million from the Federal Capital Projects Fund to be used for Minnesota's border-to-border grant program. No state general funds were appropriated to the program at that time. And unfortunately, because of delays at the federal level, we were unable to launch a broadband grant round in 2021. In addition to federal funding, the governor's budget proposal requests that Minnesota allocate $170 million in state general funds for the border-to-border grant program going forward. After considering current and potential future federal and public investments in broadband infrastructure, along with continued private investment, the governor proposes this additional money to expedite infrastructure deployment in underserved areas of our state. Next slide, please. This slide gives you the timeline of events surrounding the Federal Capital Projects Fund process. There's a three-part process at Treasury for states to receive these funds. The first step was to submit a general application of intent to accept the funds. Minnesota submitted that application and it was accepted in December of last year. We expect to have I'm looking at my older notes. We have already received an executed contract with Treasury. The second and third steps involve submitting an overall grant plan and individual program plans. The capital projects monies may be used across 3 different general areas. Next slide, please. There are 3 eligible use categories for capital projects funding: broadband infrastructure projects, digital connectivity technology projects, and multi-purpose community facility projects. Last month, we submitted Minnesota's grant and program plans for the $70 million appropriated for the border-to-border grant program. Next slide, please. We hope to receive Treasury approval of our border-to-border grant program plan sometime this month. Upon approval, we are prepared to immediately launch the fiscal year 22 grant round. We expect to launch 2 grant rounds in 2022 using the $70 million appropriation from last session. The second round will be in fiscal year 23. While we are grateful for the federal investment in broadband infrastructure, relying solely on federal funding has hampered the agility of Minnesota's grant program and subjected it to federal timelines, along with federal review and approval, which creates uncertainty. Next slide, please. The next few slides are more for your reference and to give you an overview of current federal programs funding broadband infrastructure. In this case, with this slide, we're talking about the Rural Digital Opportunity Fund. This fund is administered by the FCC. Minnesota carriers will receive approximately $408 million to build out service in Minnesota. Next slide, please. Again, highlighting a few of the other funding opportunities at the federal level to fund broadband infrastructure project, the American Rescue Plan Act, the state and local fiscal recovery funds. Broadband is an allowed use. We are aware of a number of local governments in our state that are using those monies to either do broadband projects in partnership with providers on their own, or who are anticipating pairing those funds with applications for funding through the state's border-to-border grant program. State fiscal recovery funds to date have not been allocated for broadband infrastructure. And then, of course, the reference to the Capital Projects Fund monies. Minnesota will receive $180.7 million. The Treasury guidance includes $70 million for the border-to-border grant program. And like I said, we anticipate receiving approval on that plan sometime soon. Next slide, please.
Ms. Dickerson?
Yes.
If you could just get a little closer, we can hear you, but it might come through a little stronger potentially.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate you speaking up. Thank you.
Very good. That's better.
Thank you. This slide gives an overview of the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, which will bring $100 million in base funding for broadband infrastructure in Minnesota. As I said, this is the base amount. An additional amount will be determined based on the number of unserved locations in our state after the FCC updates its mapping process. Additionally, the Digital Equity Act will bring funding for the development of a state digital equity plan and funding for a digital equity grant program. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, Minnesota will receive at least $100 million from the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. We will know more about the timing and next steps when NTIA issues their notice of funding in May or June of this year. As I also mentioned, we will be waiting on the FCC to update their mapping to know what additional monies Minnesota will receive from that fund. There are folks who believe that that mapping will get updated this year. I'm thinking it'll be more like next year. But again, plenty of opportunities on the horizon through that funding as well. Next slide, please.
Ms. Dickerson?
Yes.
Just a couple slides back, you talked about the federal funds, and there's $110 million left. Can you touch on that? Do you have any plans for that, or what would you recommend at the Office of Broadband? My understanding is we need to have a plan to expend those dollars as well. But what would your plan be or suggestion be to our committee, if you have one?
Mr. Chair, thank you for that question. Yes, there is $110.7 million of the capital projects money that still needs a determination on how it will be spent. The governor's office is working with DEED to make that determination, so I can't speak to that today. What I do know is that the plan is to put funding in all three of those categories that are allowed expenses with the capital projects money. So additional money beyond the 70 million in infrastructure, some of the money into the devices, and some of the monies into community facility projects.
Ms. Dickerson, do you so there'll be a plan forthcoming soon? Is that right? And some of that may go into broadband. And what are the other categories? If you could remind us.
Yes, Devin, could you go back a couple of slides? I think we had a slide that showed those. There you go. So there's eligible use of broadband infrastructure, digital connectivity technology projects. So that would be for devices and equipment that facilitate broadband internet access, and then multi-purpose community facility projects. Those projects in that category need to directly enable work, education, and health monitoring. And so the process that we will go through with Treasury is to submit separate program plans for those uses.
Okay, so generally all the money would go towards broadband or technology thereof. Is that a fair restatement?
I would say so. The difference in my opinion is that the multi-purpose community facility projects is not necessarily an investment in broadband infrastructure or technology, but more of the spaces where those technologies could be used.
Oh, I see. Okay. Very good. You go on.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was at the end of my presentation. I apologize for my distance from the microphone here today, and I'm happy to stand for any questions.
Very good. Members, other questions for Senator Dames?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And could you tell me, ma'am,
Have your microphone on.
how much, how much funding would be needed to connect every Minnesota home to wireless gigabyte service? I know we've got quite a bit of that done, but what would you say the estimate would be to get that completed in totality around the state?
Ms. Dickerson?
Mr. Chair, Senator Dames, we estimated the cost to be at least $1.3 billion to connect our underserved and unserved locations in the state.
So
Follow up, Senator Dames.
follow up, Mr. Chair. So if
ahead.
the money that we've got kind of sitting at bay, how close is that going to get us to being done?
Ms. Dickerson?
That money would get us, I gotta pull up a different slide here. So we estimate that with looking at the funding that's available through the capital projects money and looking at the money that is on the horizon through the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, along with the Ardoff awards, and continuing to anticipate private investment in broadband infrastructure, along with the funds that cities and counties are using, that the balance after all of that investment would be around $500 million.
Thank you, Ms. Dickinson.
Senator Dames? Members, other questions? Doesn't appear to be any at this time. Ms. Dickerson, can you talk a little bit about the 70 million, a little more detail that we allocated last year? How much of that is left? And that's in the middle of allocating some grants now, or can you talk to us a little bit more about that? And then couple with that, the needs that you might see for the hardest to serve areas, or some are talking about the last mile or the long driveway or the dead end minimum maintenance road. What is being done, if anything, to start looking at that problem as well? If you can touch on those two things.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So in terms of that $70 million that the legislature appropriated last year, we applied for that money from Treasury. We submitted our program plan. We are waiting to get approval there. So we have not launched the grant rounds associated with those funds. As soon as we receive that approval from Treasury, we are ready to issue the RFP and open the $35 million grant round for fiscal year 22. And we'll have the grant round for fiscal year 23 teed up so that folks can anticipate the timeline around the availability of those funds. In terms of
If you can get a little closer again, it's
Yep.
fading out just a little bit again, Ms. Dickinson.
apologies, in terms of connecting the hardest to serve areas, I think our state has a real opportunity at this point in time to look creatively at what we can do to connect the hardest to serve areas of our state. Our office regularly hears from consumers and homeowners who are unfortunately that home at the end of the road that just didn't get connected, or maybe it's a pocket of in an area where there's just a couple of homes, and those homes and locations unfortunately don't always get picked up and included in bigger grant projects through our border to border program.
And so to that point, Ms. Dickerson, what could we look at as the legislature potentially, or what can you look at to address those issues? Do you have any suggestions?
Mr. Chair, our office is definitely looking at the proposed line extension bill, and very, very interested in working with folks to determine how best we could do that for our state.
And then to your question, or your answer about the 70 million. So none of that has gone out yet, but you're waiting for federal sign off to release the money. Is that correct?
Mr. Chair, yes, sir, that is correct. I'll repeat, we are grateful to have this opportunity with federal funding. The trade-off is that we lose some of the ability to control the timing of our programs, and our programs are now subject to approval by folks in Washington, D.C.
Very, very good point, Ms. Dickerson. I was wondering if that maybe was a point that we should note, but essentially we were able to use federal funding, but the downside of it is you would have otherwise been able to start the grant process last summer or fall. Is that correct? And are we going to miss part of a building season because of that potentially, or do you expect it to be out soon enough for the spring construction season to start?
Mr. Chair, that is certainly a possibility that we could lose part of a construction season. I'll tell you, our team has done everything it can to be ready to move forward with a grant round once we get approval of our program. I have a great deal of respect for the team of folks at Treasury who are standing up a brand new program. And I think they've heard this plea from every state. Please move quickly so that we can get our program started, and particularly in the northern parts of our country where our construction seasons are so short, to approve our program plan so we can continue to do the good work that Minnesota has done in the past. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Very good. Any other questions, members?
Mr. Chair.
Senator Dames.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and ma'am. Ms. Dickerson, could you tell me, as I understand, you submitted a plan for the 70 million to the federal treasury. Now, the other 110 million, as I understand, you have a plan for that. Is that correct?
Ms. Dickerson.
Mr. Chair, Senator Dames, that plan is being developed as we speak. The plans haven't been put together at this point, but conversations are being had to determine how those funds should be allocated across those three categories.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chair, follow up.
Senator Dames.
So how long will it be before that plan will be available for us to look over?
Ms. Dickerson.
Mr. Chair, Senator Dames, I don't have an exact timeline to share with you in that regard. What I can say, what I do know for sure is the state's deadline to submit any additional plans for program plans for those treasury dollars is September 24th.
Mr. Chair, follow up.
Senator Dames.
Ms. Dickerson, is this a plan that your office is putting together? Or is this a plan that you take guidance from the governor's office and you're going to be presenting his ideas and his plan?
Ms. Dickerson.
Mr. Chair, Senator Dames, that would be the governor's office.
Thank you.
Senator Dames. So Ms. Dickerson, might be something our committee wants to look at more. I've got a bill I'm working on getting put together to get that 110 million allocated. However it gets allocated, your department I assume stands ready and able to just add that into more of the great broadband work you're doing and getting it out the door. Is there sufficient projects in the next year or two, do you think, to use more money if it would be available?
Mr. Chair, absolutely. My request or recommendation would be that we spread this funding out over a few years or multiple grant rounds for a couple of reasons. I talked about the supply chain issues that I understand you're hearing from industry folks today who could expand on that a bit more, to give some a planning horizon around those funds, not just to address supply chain issues, but also to allow time for some of our smallest and most rural communities to actively participate in this process as well.
Very good. Ms. Dickerson,
Mr.
members,
Chair.
any other questions?
Yes, I just
Senator
have a
Dame.
follow-up on your question, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Senator.
Ms. Dickinson, if there was additional money put forth, how would you decide to distribute that money? Would that be something that you would tie into another program, or would you do a special distribution of that money? How would that be determined?
Ms. Dickerson.
And I should add, Ms. Dickinson, that would be if the bill didn't specifically state how it was to be managed.
Ms. Dickerson.
Mr. Chair, Senator Dames, I'm making a bit of a guess here related to your question, but I understand what I think you are asking me is how we would operate the grant program if there were additional funds from the capital projects money for broadband infrastructure. My recommendation would be that we would continue to follow the border-to-border program as it exists in statute today. Of course, making any tweaks that we might need to make to comply with the guidance from Treasury, much in the way that the $70 million was appropriated by the legislature in last session. Mr. Chair.
Thank you, ma'am. And I have no follow-up, Mr. Chair.
Very good. Senator Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Dickinson, I know there's been a lot of money that's come from the federal government already, and I'm presuming that it's going to be all used for broadband. Are there any other details that from the federal government as far as their guidelines for us to utilize that in relationship to the money that is now in our possession?
Ms. Dickerson.
Mr. Chair, Senator Anderson, Treasury did release guidance related to how the capital projects funds monies can be used. In our opinion, the broadband infrastructure category aligns very nicely with our border-to-border grant program. Once we receive approval from Treasury on that plan, we'll know if our thinking is spot on there or not. But at least from the guidance that we've seen, our grant program fits very, very nicely with that funding. Mr. Chair.
Very good. Senator Anderson, any follow-up?
No, thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, members, thanks for the good questions. Thanks, Ms. Dickinson for your testimony and information to the committee. We're talking it's a bit of a problem, but it's really not a problem as much as what's the best way to work with this opportunity we have. I think we feel we're finding ourselves in a good position. I'm optimistic, at least, about us being able to really have an accomplishment and reach that objective of the rural broadband program so much that what if we accomplish the entire goal we set out to be? And that's actually, I think, in the foreseeable future, if we can keep the pedal to the metal here. So that'd be a great accomplishment and a good good opportunities coming, and we can get this state built out, it sounds to me like. So look forward to working with you on that. Thank you for your leadership at the office of Broadband. And right now, we don't have any further questions. Members might have later. I don't know if you're able to stick around for some of the other testifiers, but I'm not sure if they do or not. But we'll move on to our next testifier. Thanks again, Ms. Dickerson, for what you do. Next testifier from the DNR, Susan Damon. Susan, if you can introduce yourself, welcome to our committee, and talk to us about a bit of a scenario. I had to look twice at the agenda when I saw DNR in front of us for rural broadband. So we'll let you explain yourself to the rest of the committee members and the audience. But welcome to our committee. Identify yourself for the record, and we appreciate having you on.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, my name is Susan Damon.
And Ms.
I am
Damon,
the
are you able to turn your camera on? It's not coming through here.
It should be on.
See. There we go.
Is it on?
We've got it now. Go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Susan Damon. I am the Assistant Director for Lands in the DNR Division of Lands and Minerals. And I am here to provide you with information about the DNR's role in rural broadband. The DNR manages 5.6 million acres of state land, and staff in the DNR Division of Lands and Minerals are responsible for handling all of the real estate transactions on these lands. Under Minnesota statute section 84.415, a utility that proposes to cross either DNR administered state lands or public waters is required to obtain a license from the DNR. We are currently issuing approximately 500 utility licenses per year, and many of these licenses include multiple state land or public water crossings. Licenses are issued for various types of utilities, including electric power lines, pipelines, and telephone or other communication lines. 43% of the licenses issued by the DNR in fiscal year 2021 were for fiber optic cables for broadband. An important component of the DNR's utility licensing work is reviewing the proposal for potential negative environmental impacts. Lands and Minerals real estate staff route licensing proposals to the DNR's land managing divisions and to an environmental assessment ecologist for review. These DNR staff assist the Division of Lands and Minerals in evaluating the license applications, including developing special licensing terms that avoid or minimize negative environmental impacts. As the demand for high-speed internet in rural Minnesota has increased, we have seen a substantial increase in the number of license applications for fiber optic cables for broadband. In fiscal year 2019, the DNR issued 102 licenses for fiber optic. That was about 23% of our licensing total. In fiscal year 2020, this number increased to 160 licenses for fiber optic, and that was about 35% of our licensing total. In fiscal 2021, the DNR issued 206 licenses for fiber optic, more than double the number of licenses issued only 2 years earlier. Our broadband licensing work is funded through an appropriation from the general fund. In anticipation of further increased demand, the governor's supplemental budget includes funding for 2 additional positions over the next 4 years for utility licensing work. One of these positions would be a realty specialist in the Division of Lands and Minerals to review and process license applications. And the other position would be an additional environmental assessment ecologist position to evaluate environmental impacts of licensing proposals. That concludes my remarks. Thank you for your time. I would be happy to answer questions.
Senator Dames has a question. Senator Dames.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair and Ms. Damon. Can you tell me roughly how many licenses you issue a year for broadband?
Ms. Damon?
Mr. Chair, Senator Dames, this last full fiscal year, we issued 206 licenses for broadband, and that number doubled from 2 years earlier.
A
Senator
follow-up,
Dames?
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Senator Dames.
Ms. Damon, was there any licenses rejected last year?
Ms. Damon?
Mr. Chair, Senator Dames, I am not aware that there were any licenses rejected. If you are aware of something, you please contact the DNR and we will look into it.
Thank you,
Senator
Ms.
Dames,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A follow-up.
go ahead.
Earlier, you mentioned about negative environmental impact. Could you give me some examples of what the broadband lines would possibly do to create a negative environmental impact on your lands?
Ms. Damon?
Mr. Chair, Senator Dames, for example, if it depends on how the broadband would be installed, the extent to which there would be a negative impact. There may be areas where an installation is proposed, and there may be protected species, threatened and endangered species. And in that kind of circumstance, we may ask for certain mitigation measures. Generally, my understanding is that the broadband is one of the types of utility licenses that does not have as many negative environmental impacts. Does that answer your question?
Senator Dames?
Well, that's one of, maybe one, but I'm just wondering what other type of negative impacts you would think there would be with the broadband, other
Mr.
than
Chair,
protected species.
Go ahead, Ms. Damon.
Mr. Chair, Senator Dames, there could be things like replanting in areas that have been dug. There may be species that may be impacted, and we would want to, in that kind of circumstance, take measures to prevent the introduction of invasive species and ensure that the replanting was done with native species appropriate to the area that had been impacted.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No further questions.
Very good. Any other questions, members? Ms. Damon, how many are in your office approximately that handle the licensing and review? And about how long does it take to review each license?
Mr. Chair, we have presently approximately 4 lands and minerals staff who exclusively work on utility licensing, not only broadband, but other types of licensing as well. There are about 6 other staff members in the Division of Lands and Minerals who spend part of their time working on utility licensing, including broadband. There are also staff conducting reviews in other divisions, such as the environmental assessment ecologists, and they are in the Division of Ecological and Water Resources. And to your question of the time it takes, it depends entirely, on the size of the proposed line, whether there are needs for special terms. We do try to turn things around as quickly as possible. For example, our regional review takes about 10 business days. We ask the other divisions to comment and provide us questions. And so we are trying to expedite matters to the extent possible. But if you are have any concerns or are aware of any situations, we would be happy to look into them.
And Ms. Damon, how many licenses or of utilities or broadband in a year does your department do? You mentioned 206 for broadband. How many in total do they end up handling as an approximate or an estimate annually of transactions?
Mr. Chair, we issue approximately 500 licenses a year. And as I mentioned, some of these licenses may include multiple land crossings or water crossings. And so they're complex. For example, you're familiar with the Enbridge pipeline project, which crossed the entire state of Minnesota. And there was a water crossing license issued for that, one water crossing license and one land crossing license. A license may be a simple water crossing, a simple land crossing, but it also may include multiple segments of land or multiple water crossings. So probably the better number to engage to gauge the amount of work is the number of specific crossings.
So, Ms. Damon, specifically, you and the governor's office are requesting 1.5 new FTEs to augment or to help with the processing of transactions, but particularly the broadband. Is that summarize your request?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we are actually requesting 2 FTEs. And the reason for the request is primarily the increase in demand for broadband and the need for us to work on those license applications.
So, Ms. Damon, so it's taking you about 2 weeks to process them now. What would the time frame reduce to with those 2 extra staff people? And then Senator Dames has a question.
Mr. Chair, what I mentioned, the approximate 2-week time period is the time period after we've received the application and reviewed it, and we send it out to the other divisions in DNR and to the regional assessment ecologists to review and get back to us. So it does take longer than 2 weeks. I would have to ask our staff to obtain some data about timing, and I can certainly do that if you're interested. We believe that the 2 additional positions will help us keep up with the increase in demand for licenses for broadband.
Very good. If you could get that to our committee administrator, that would be good and helpful. If you could just give us a timing of current estimated time of turnaround, that would be welcomed. Senator Dames has another question.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. And Ms. Damon, can you tell me what the total dollars of receipts you bring in for issuing these licenses in a year?
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Damon?
Senator Dames, I would have to get that figure for you. There is no, for broadband licenses and most license types, there's no application fee. It's funded through the general fund. There are certain exceptions to that for larger utility projects and pipelines. And the fees that are charged are based on a table that is in Minnesota rules, the land crossing and water crossing fees, but I can get you that information as well.
Mr. Chair, follow up.
Senator Dames.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Ms. Damon. I would appreciate if you get that information to us. Also, just a question. When you do collect fees on these license or a license application fee, whatever you want to call it, does that go to the general fund or go back to the DNR?
Ms. Damon.
Mr. Chair, Senator Dames, it would generally, the crossing fees for land crossings would generally go into the land, the account for the land which was crossed. Water crossing fees go to the permanent school fund. So it's one way that the DNR raises revenue for the permanent school fund is through those fees.
Follow up, Mr. Chair.
Senator Dames.
And Ms. Damon, can you tell me how many FTEs you currently have working in your license program now?
Ms. Damon, I think
Let's see.
what I think you sounded like earlier was 4 and 6, so about 10, is that correct?
Mr. Chair, Senator Dames, we actually have more than that. The staff who process these licenses work in our regional offices, and we have 4 staff members and a supervisor in the Northwest. We have 4 staff members, we have 3 in the Northwest and a supervisor. We have a total of 5, including the supervisor in the Northeast. Currently, we have 2 staff and 1 vacancy in the Central region, and we have 2 staff and 1 vacancy in the Southern region. And these staff members do handle other types of projects, including issuance of easements to cross state land and leases. They also perform tax forfeited reviews when a county wants to sell land bordering water, for example.
Mr. Chair, follow up.
Senator Dames and then Senator Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Ms. Damon. So you're above and beyond that, you're requesting, is it 2 full-time FTEs additional?
Ms. Damon.
Mr. Chair, Senator Dames, yes, 2 additional staff members. One would be in our division, the Division of Lands and Minerals, and the other one would be in the Division of Ecological and Water Resources.
Follow up, Mr. Chair.
Senator Dames.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Damon, would these people be full-time on licensing, or would they be sharing other duties?
Senator or Ms. Damon.
Mr. Chair, Senator Dames, the proposal is for staff to work on utility licensing, and that is how the proposed funding is structured. So they would be full-time utility licensing.
Thank you, Ms. Damon.
Senator Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a question maybe to you or to staff. Broadband, is this allowed by other agencies such as, I'm hearing now the DNR can put in broadband throughout the state. Are other agencies allowed to do the same? And then if so, is it under statute that broadband can be implemented and put in place by, say, a different agency than the broadband agency itself?
Ms. Damon, maybe give an answer to that. I think Senator Anderson, what you're asking is why do the other agencies have involvement in getting the broadband in?
I just wanted to know under what statute they've been given the authority to put in broadband. And I was just asking staff, if a bipartisan staff or anybody else can answer that question. Under what statute?
Ms. Damon, any immediate answer to that, or else maybe Ms. Painter, our Senate Counsel?
Mr. Chair, Senator Anderson, so the DNR licensing permits us, the statute is Minnesota Statutes 84.415, and that gives the DNR authority to issue utility crossing licenses when a utility crosses DNR administered state land or public waters. There may be other types of permits, licenses, easements that are required by other state agencies to cross the lands that they administer. And for example, counties would be responsible for licensing or issuing easements to cross tax forfeited land.
Senator Anderson, does that answer your question? And
Well, Mr. Chair, it says 84.145. I'm wondering if the Department of Transportation, if that falls under the same guidelines for issuing licensing for that, or if is there another statute that would allow all the bureaucratic agencies to do licensing of broadband?
And you may be getting the question I was going to ask, so maybe I'll ask it and see if it covers kind of what you're wondering, Senator Anderson. Ms. Damon, so the DNR has their lands that they manage and grant licenses to. Does the DOT have a similar function where they have to grant licenses to go through roadways and other road ditches that they are they may oversee or manage? And do we have other agencies similarly doing that, or it seems like we'd have some other agencies doing the same thing as you are. Is that correct?
Mr. Chair, I would have to get the specifics from the Department of Transportation, but my assumption is that they have to issue either a license or some type of permit for utility to cross. One other thing that I should mention is that some entities already have pre-existing rights to land if the DNR acquires land. There may be a utility that already has an easement that grants them permission to cross that particular land. And in that instance, we would not require a new license. It's only when they don't have a pre-existing right to cross.
But Ms. Damon, it's probably fair to say if you've got licenses you're granting in increased numbers, DOT, maybe some other agencies, but DOT and DNR seem to be the most obvious. They probably have several licenses they're granting for even same or similar projects, just depending upon what roads they're crossing. Is that
Mr. Chair, I will. Yes, Mr. Chair, that would be my assumption. I will have to check into that for you.
Okay.
I have not worked with the DOT's utility licensing or permitting.
Okay, and so back to Senator Anderson. Senator Anderson, my understanding, and just so you and we're on the same page, the agencies aren't actually putting the fiber in, they're just having to grant the license. Does that help clarify it for you, or do you have follow-up questions on that topic, Senator Anderson?
Well, Mr. Chair, I just was wondering who coordinates it all. Is it from the Office of Broadband that coordinates with the DNR, the Department of Transportation, whatever the other agency is going to be dealing with broadband? Or you said that the Department of DNR here is issuing the licenses for this. Does then the Department of Transportation issue a license to it? I mean, the cost of this thing can exponentially be more expensive than we're talking. So I'm just asking the questions.
Sure. So Ms. Damon, are you involved in any coordination, or Ms. Dickerson, if you're on, maybe you can chime in after Ms. Damon, but or is it the proposer that ultimately is coordinating, and then they have to go through all the different licensing and regulatory steps to get their project started? How does that function, Ms. Damon, to Senator Anderson's question?
Yes, Mr. Chair, it would be the utility that is putting in the broadband that would be responsible for coordinating that and seeking the appropriate permissions to cross not only state land, but they would also have, if they're crossing private land, they would have to have some type of permit or easement to do that as well.
Very good. Any other questions, members? None right now, Ms. Damon. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for alerting us or bringing this issue or scenario to our attention. Thanks again for joining us. Next, members, we'll go to deed, and then following that, we'll hear from the private sector, Ms. Anna Boroff. But first, from deed, we've got oh, okay. Excuse me, members. The person from deed was with Ms. Dickerson to doing the slide presentation. So my mistake. So we'll move to Ms. Boroff. Anna, if you want to get ready, welcome to our committee. Identify yourself for the record. Tell us, give us an overview on broadband from the cable company and the private sector perspective. You're the ones ultimately building out, you or other companies, many of our telephone companies or other internet providers, and we appreciate having you here. Thank you for taking time to come share with us. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name's Anna Boroff and I'm the
Get as
executive.
close as you can if you could.
Closer. My name's Anna
There you go.
Boroff and I'm the executive director of the Minnesota Cable Association, and it's nice to be here in person after 2 years. So thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about what the private sector is doing and our experience as Minnesota unleashes an unprecedented amount of funding for broadband deployment. As you know, Minnesota Cable shares the goal of legislators in finishing the job of bringing broadband access to the entire state. Our members have been actively pursuing any and all ways of getting at these difficult and expensive areas of the state to serve, and we've been making significant progress. Many broadband providers have or will receive federal broadband funds to provide service to thousands of unserved locations in Minnesota. These funds, along with vast amounts of our own private capital, will allow us to complete our mission of ubiquitous access to broadband across the state if spent wisely. Since I last testified before your committee, Minnesota cable providers have been approved for their Ardoff Rural Digital Opportunity Fund locations, and those builds have begun. We're also utilizing local ARPA dollars from cities and counties, which Ms. Dickinson mentioned, which will reach thousands of Minnesotans once completed as well. And that process is still ongoing. We are ready to submit projects to the Border to Border program once that application window opens for the $70 million that the legislature appropriated last year. And we are awaiting word on how that last $110 million of that fund will be allocated. We also recognize that Minnesota will receive at least $100 million from federal infrastructure dollars for broadband. And those are not the only sources of funds. And so this is a market altering amount of capital that's coming to Minnesota. The efficient distribution and use of this massive influx of federal funding will pose major logistical challenges, as you can imagine. This is a huge construction effort and it will not happen overnight. Supply chain, labor market, and regulatory processes will be extremely strained as the market absorbs this enormous amount of funds. In order to get projects built and more Minnesotans broadband, we hope that policymakers and stakeholders examine every part of the funding and construction process and eliminate as many barriers to broadband deployment as possible, ensuring no one is left behind in terms of broadband access. As you have heard from me before, we are tremendously proud of our investments in Minnesota and the way our networks performed during the pandemic. Minnesotans have recognized the importance of a broadband connection, and the state and federal government has made funding this infrastructure a priority. So we look forward to partnering with the Office of Broadband on our path to the finish, ensuring these federal government investments flow through the Office of Broadband and through our existing Border to Border program is essential in ensuring these funds are spent in the areas that are truly still in need of broadband access and ensures that we will accomplish our goal. We look forward to partnering with you all as we share ideas on a bill we think solves some of the challenges before us. As the larger unserved areas of the state are built, we need to ensure that we aren't leaving anyone behind. And so I look forward to hopefully coming back to this committee and presenting our bill on line extensions. Lastly, I would add that the digital divide is not limited to infrastructure. Minnesota cable companies have been working for many years on the barriers to broadband access and adoption, and would welcome a conversation about how we connect more families to broadband and the resources now available. So thank you, Mr. Chair. I am happy to answer any questions if I can.
Ms. Boroff, Senator Dames has a question.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair and Ms. Boroff. Can you tell me, you were mentioning about partnering and about a lot of private capital going into this. Can you tell me what kind of a ratio you think it is between state and federal dollars and private dollars going in to build this out?
Ms. Boroff.
Thank you,
Any
Mr.
idea?
Chair, Senator Dames. That's a great question. I would say the vast majority of our investments have always been private capital, at least from cable companies. I mean, we built these networks basically with cable or with private capital, and it's really just these last sort of really tough areas to serve that we're asking for assistance on to get to, because we recognize the importance of that. But the vast majority of our networks are funded, maintained by private capital.
Mr. Chair, follow up.
Senator Dames.
So on those hard to get areas, what any idea what the percentage you'd be looking at for federal and state dollars versus private capital?
Thank
Ms.
you.
Boroff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Senator. Right now, our current border-to-border program requires a 50% match. So that's the parameters that we're operating under. The federal money flowing through the Office of Broadband would still go through the current border-to-border program, so that would still hold. We have some ideas on areas where that match might not be enough. So I mentioned the line extension program that we have a bill on this session, which we would love to talk to you about. Those areas are like the 1-2 households that, you know, we're not going to administer an entire border-to-border program or application for. That might require some more flexibility to get at those locations and maybe a different kind of match requirement.
Mr. Chair,
So-
follow up.
Senator Dames.
So are there other grants that are accessible to the cable companies that do this installation for your folks doing installation that still has some government grants, and what percentages those be?
Ms. Boroff.
Mr. Chair, Senator, yes, there are a whole list of sources of funding coming right now. I'd mentioned some of them, which will hopefully all flow through the Office of Broadband, like the infrastructure money, like the ARPA dollars that the legislature appropriated to that program. But one that I also mentioned was the Ardoff Funds, and I have a couple of cable companies who did apply for those funds. That was a reverse auction. We were approved for those, our long form applications. That hope we've done all the work and gone through that process. So those are in the process of either being built or will be built. So that's another huge, that was 408 million overall. And I'd have to check and see what the total between the two companies that I represent had of the Ardoff funds. There's a variety of other programs too. There's ACAM, which, you know, I can happy to follow up with a whole list of all the programs. Under HUD had a small cities grant that was about 25 million. I know at least one of my companies utilized that program. There are so many sources of funding right now. It's frankly a little bit overwhelming, but we're doing the best we can to look for those opportunities, partner where we can, and make sure that we're being good stewards of those dollars and getting those built as quickly as possible, but it is going to take us some time.
Thank you for the info. No follow up, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Senator Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Bora, would you say your biggest challenge, it sounds like there's enough money, enough grants out there, at least that's what I got from what you just said. Is your biggest challenge staff or ability to get out there and put the projects in, or is it getting the grants? What's your biggest challenge?
Ms. Boroff.
Mr. Chair, Senator, those are all challenges. I don't know which one is the biggest obstacle at this point, but definitely we have the same workforce issues that other companies in Minnesota have. The supply chain issues are real. We have to order equipment and infrastructure with quite a bit of advance, right? So that will take time. So we have a short construction season in Minnesota too, right? So we have 12 weeks or whatever it is, you know, of really good weather. Permitting, I have heard from my members that permitting is a challenge as well. I mean, the DNR component is part of it. We also have to get permits from MnDOT when we do highway crossings, those sorts of things, and those permits take a lot of time. And we've definitely had several conversations with MnDOT in particular about how we can expedite that process. And looking at all this capital coming into the state, this problem is going to get worse and not better. So we hope that we can find ways to expedite that process as well.
Mr. Chair,
Senator Anderson.
follow up. Ms. Boroff, the other thing that I sense too are the guidelines on which people get the broadband. It seems like if you're in an area where broadband has been introduced and it's stopped, say, 1,000 feet from your door, but because you're in the territory within the realm of this here, the next go around for getting the other people in the area serviced, they're put on a waiting list. That's what I've been told. And I'm just wondering if that's the case for you also.
Mr.
Ms.
Chair,
Boroff.
Senator, thank you for that comment because we do hear frustration from your constituents. We get inquiries all the time from the Office of Broadband about sort of these one-off situations, right? There might be areas right now that are either scheduled for federal, an Ardoff build or, a state build. But there are households that are off sort of by themselves, like you're talking about. They might be able to see the fiber, but it doesn't come to their house. They might have a long driveway that would require a significant investment. And so, not to segue into the bill that we're very interested in again this session, but we see that as a complement to the existing border to border program because we know that that frustration is out there and we would like to find a way to bridge what the cost difference, the cost to get to those homes are. So I hear, I hear what you're saying. I know you have constituents who reach out to you all the time saying, I'm so close, but I still don't have access. And so we're trying to find ways to get to that too and find a way to make it cost effective for us and for the homeowner who frankly sometimes calls their provider and we say, yeah, we can extend you service, but it'll cost $10,000 or something. Well, not every family can do that. So we're trying to be creative on how we make sure that in the process of covering the whole state, we don't leave anybody behind.
So, Ms. Boroff, in no way do I intend to put you on the spot. So if it's too premature, you just say we're not there yet. But I know we've had conversations about this, given the line of questions that have come up. I'm wondering, and we have a little bit of time, if it would be prudent to maybe just give us as a committee a little snippet or snapshot of, I guess, some concepts you've talked about. And the one that's crossing my mind as we're talking is we talked about maybe a scenario where there's a pilot program with a reverse auction, different companies offer or bid to what it would cost to get that. Do you feel comfortable talking about that just as a snapshot? I realize it might be a bill or legislation later, but I think it would answer some questions that I'm hearing from up here if you feel comfortable to talk about that.
Mr. Chair, absolutely. I appreciate the opportunity. So the bill that hopefully I think will be introduced tomorrow is what we're referring to as a line extension program. So like I said, right now, the existing programs are meant for larger scale builds, and we're looking for a way to get at these 1, 2, 3 sort of households that aren't being scooped up in that process. And so the way that the bill works is it would really be, we would give power to the consumer in that they could go on to a portal on the Office of Broadband's website. They would enter in their address. We would, check to make sure that they aren't indeed served. Every 6 months, a list of the addresses submitted that don't have service would be made available to providers, and we would be able to bid on what it would cost us to extend service to those locations. And so the lowest bid, in theory, would win, provided it's a cost-effective use of state resources. So there's some flexibility to the Office of Broadband to make sure that it is a cost-effective use of state resources. And then we would have a year, and it could be any type of provider could bid on this. It could be a cable provider, a telephone provider, a co-op, anyone who provides service. And then we would have a year to build it. So it's a quick process too, which is nice. And like I said, we like that it's a consumer driven process. And so we hope that you would share that with your constituents as a way to make sure that folks are aware that they don't have service. And hopefully we can partner with, whether it's townships or cities or the Office of Broadband in making sure that we're promoting and making sure people are aware of the tool. So that's, in short, that's what the sort of vision for what that program would look like, and it would complement our existing programs. It's not meant to take anything away from those. Those are important too. This would just be another tool at making sure we don't leave anyone behind.
Thank you, Ms. Boroff. Senator Dames has a follow-up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Ms. Borhoff. Where would the funding come for that?
Mr. Chair,
Suggesting.
Senator Dames, great question. In the bill, it would allow for the funds that are in the border to border program. This would be an eligible use of those funds. So, the intent of those funds is to bring folks broadband service, and this would be an eligible use. It's my understanding too that we could also use the federal funds that are in that program or in that account. This would be an eligible use for those as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions, members? Does not look like it. Ms. Boroff, thank you for your presentation and thank you for coming to our committee and sharing with us. Members, that concludes our agenda. Any other questions, members? Otherwise, having no further business, this meeting is adjourned.